Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy exercised some demons in Cleveland on Sunday, but how did they do it? We'll go drive by drive and give you the answer next. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. It is Monday, so you know what that means. Vish Kumaran is here. Vish, we missed you after the Monday Night Football game. There was a lot to talk about after that one, and I feel much, much better about the 49ers and our quarterback after this one.
Oh, yeah. I was pretty tired after that game. I was saving the high emotions and the adrenaline for you and Levin because I'm sure both of you just went after the quarterback, and it was on the back of the Ayuk situation, which you only covered for 6 minutes from what I saw. So I was like, oh, he's going to go to town on Ayuk as well, probably. I'm not the right energy for him, but today I'm back. I'm ready to go, and we're off of one of the I don't want to go too far because Cleveland's a 3-8 team starting a rookie quarterback with all kinds of controversy, but it's still a great win in my book in terms of who they had to play and where they had to play. So
because it was such a professional performance, right? Like everybody understood the assignment. They knew exactly what it would take to win that game. They had the right game plan going in and they executed it almost perfectly.
Yeah, and I love that you went there because sometimes we just have good chemistry on this show because I wanted to give the game a theme that I've noticed, and to me, it's the theme of the season, and it's very different from the Niners in other occasions. One of my complaints when the Niners have had these previously disastrous injury-riddled seasons is, okay, at a certain point, it's how do you expect them to compete when they're losing all their players? But the thing is, they're so well coached from a schematic standpoint that they always manage to compete despite losing all their players.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that they would do more dumb things than the other team and lose the game. And it was a very weird thing because you have this very well coached team from a schematic standpoint, but they were so unbuttoned up from a standpoint of just game management, just kept doing dumb things from a game management standpoint, a turnover standpoint, a special team standpoint. And the weird thing about it and where it frustrated me is it's almost oxymoronic it's the opposite of what you would expect from a well-coached veteran team, which is what the 49ers were last year, for example, a veteran team with their starting quarterback. And what I love is they've completely 180'd that this year. If you look at a lot of these games, the reason they kind of suck to watch is because oftentimes it's like watching the other team, not this one, the Cleveland game was a good game, but you're just watching the other team beat itself in front of the 49ers. And the 49ers are just not self-destructing like Arizona. Arizona just self-destructed in that game. But that's how you win these games. That's how Mike Tomlin, despite having some awful teams, they always have a winning record. Because in the NFL, a lot of times the other team will lose the game before you even have to win it. And that's what's been going on for the 49ers. It's awesome to see. I love that you went there as a theme because it's new, it's unique, it's awesome. And it makes me think that this team has, in its own way, a really, really good shot of not just getting into the playoffs, which was kind of the goal, but maybe they can win a playoff game. Because I feel like when you look across the NFC, I could see one of these high seeds beating themselves right in front of the Niners, and the Niners just taking advantage of that game script.
The Philadelphia Eagles. Hello. God, if there's ever a team out there that could beat themselves,
the Rams can.
The Rams, I mean, God, I don't know what the hell happened to the Rams on Sunday. That was wild. The 49ers are actually closer to the number one seed right now than they are to being out of the playoffs, which is a tremendous thing to say given everything that's happened. We got a couple super chats here before
that Green Bay win was humongous for them, huh? And the Chicago win. Oh, crap.
Yes. Antonio, so you didn't know that, huh? Now the wheels are spinning. I see. Antonio says, good to see this team get a win heading into their 2 upcoming bye weeks. Don't do that. We just saw the Panthers beat the Rams. Don't slight the Titans like that. But Antonio says we'll be 10-4 going into Indy. I truly think they can go 2-1 in their last 3. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think 2-1 in their last 3 is fair. I think the buy right now is humongous. I think I'm right with Antonio on that. The one thing I'll say that made this game a little bit different to me is the way they tackled Quinshon Judkins, specifically the two safeties. I thought Malik Mustafa had the first game where he kind of looked like Malik Mustafa to me, or at least who he looked like as a rookie. And the way they tackled in space makes me think maybe they got a slightly better shot against Jonathan Taylor than I was giving them when we were talking about this 2 weeks ago, or when we kind of touched on it. But besides that, I think Antonio is right on across the board. And I think Seattle's defense is still going to be that one defense that's just going to be the hardest one for them to play, just because of that front. It is hard to block. It's very different from Cleveland's in the size that they have on the interior. And the Niners' weakest part of their offensive line is their guards.
But, and they lost another guard today because Ben Barch has hurt his foot. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. But we got a long way to go before we get to Seattle, of course. Iceman says, hey, Vish, how do you feel about your hometown Bears?
Number one, Maverick, I do not feel good. Oh, is this Caleb Williams? I'm sorry. I totally forgot over there. I was making a Top Gun reference, but then I realized he's the Iceman now.
That's the end of the show, Caleb Williams, I'm sure.
Yeah. Dude, I'm not going to lie. Them beating the Eagles, that one was tough. Who did they beat before the Eagles, too? They beat someone kind of decent.
Yeah, or they were losing, right? But then they came back. It was
here. I'm blanking. So this one bothered me too.
The Steelers.
Oh yeah. The way they beat Pittsburgh too, that one bothered me too. But it was like, okay, Pittsburgh kind of stinks. And then when they lost to the Eagles, or when they beat the Eagles, I was like, oh. And dude, their run game, that's what I think kills me, because for all the crap I wanted to talk, like that run game will get you through November and December. Like, whatever they're doing, and DeAndre Swift is not a good runner with great stats always. Don't ask me why. I'm just telling you. Like, watch the game. He's not a good running back, but look at the stats. He's a really good running back. It's just one of those things. But man, they're gonna be a really tough matchup now. Just because, and Dennis Allen is one of the best defensive coordinators in the sport. They got kind of a Robert Saleh thing going with no linebackers there, and Dennis Allen is just scheming it up.
Yep. And he was one of the guys that, I thought the Niners should have at least talked to when they were, because it seemed like they had all their eggs in the Saleh basket. Obviously, we know it worked out, and thank God it worked out, because we have needed every ounce of his brain so far this year. So let's dive into this thing, Vish, because it's.
Before we go, though, real quick, do you think, where do you stand? We do the weekly, is Saleh going to be a head coach? We've teetered all across the board. We've had every take on the map week after week on this. Where are you now?
Man, he sure is. He knows how to put on a national job interview when they're on a national stage. I don't know if you noticed this, Vish, but after the game, Kyle Shanahan had a nice long conversation with Jim Schwartz. And it looks like that staff in Cleveland may be changing. And all I'm saying is, if we had to lose Robert Saleh, I sure as hell wouldn't be that upset if Jim Schwartz became Kyle Shanahan's defensive coordinator.
Maybe. I've never been the biggest Schwartz fan, but you can't argue with his results in certain areas with certain talents. I think this Cleveland defense, they have, to me, the best edge rusher of my lifetime. Like, this is the best edge rusher I've personally gotten to see. Like, for my lifetime in defensive players, there were two dominant interior ones, J.J. Watt and Aaron Donald. This is the first edge guy. Von Miller was not this to me. Like, this is just, holy cow, this is the freakiest, one of the best players I've ever seen. And then Denzel Ward is like a great corner. They have two guys who kind of play, and they're two elite players at two premium positions. I think Schwartz lucks out a little bit there, but I like your read on that situation. I also love that you point out Saleh puts on a national TV show, because it's almost like the man knows where the camera is, how to play to it. Even in the Carolina game, he's just the kind of guy that, some dumb half-drunk owner is going to be watching their TV on Monday night going, hey, that guy looks like the shit. I want that guy at 9:41.
I like the cut of that guy's jib.
Exactly.
All in my head, all NFL owners talk like somebody out of the 1950s. I don't know. Just a weird thing.
To me, they're all old sport from Great Gatsby.
Oh,
What
wow.
you doing, old sport?
Damn. All right. You're going Gatsby reference on the program 10 minutes in. Things have taken
Hey. We want to talk about goats now. Leo is...
All right. We've gotten off track. Steering the show back to the opening drive of the game. I loved the play that they did right out of the gate, where they send Juszczyk up through the offensive line, and it totally screws with the rules of the defense because he becomes the new number one wide receiver, and everybody's like, what the hell is going on? And he created an easy, defined throw for Brock Purdy right out of the gate. And it was like, that was the tone setter for them right away. It was like, we're going to make this easy. We're not going to overcomplicate it. We're not going to do stupid things. And I loved that first play.
Yeah, I mean, they had such a clear plan in this game. And look, there's going to be a lot made of the pressure percentage. I already saw it on Twitter immediately after the game. I had to get off of Twitter. But to me, this whole game was how they mitigated pressure. Like that defensive line is so good that they're going to be around the quarterback within 2 seconds, which means you need to find ways to create space to make the quarterback throw the ball with people around him with 2 seconds. That's what the whole game was about. All those third downs, people around him. He needs clear vision. He needs somebody open, and he needs to be able to get the ball out. And to your point, they set the tone with this play with immediate misdirection, right? How many times do we see Juszczyk come through the C gap and Rayshon Jenkins is waiting for him to go Oklahoma drill in the C gap? Like it's man on man. And he comes at him to block and he goes right by him on the corner route. And it's a big play for a first down. And again, the whole game, they're going to have people around him. That's going to be the theme of the game because that's how good their defensive line is. No matter how many tricks you do to Myles Garrett, he still finds a way to somehow be around the quarterback within 2.5 seconds. So when he's there at 2.5 seconds, where's your answer? Can the quarterback get the ball out? That's what the whole game was about yesterday. And repeatedly, we're going to go through drive by drive, third down after third down, where the quarterback makes a good, accurate, quick, decisive throw in windy conditions, and the answer is always available. Shanahan was so prepared for this game.
It was a beautiful thing to watch. Now, the Niners didn't do anything on their first offensive possession. They punt. The Browns get the ball. It's third down, and Shedeur Sanders has Jerry Jeudy, and he is open. There is nobody behind him, and this was the first sort of sequence of the game because Sanders overthrows Jerry Jeudy, and then the Browns punt, and Sky Moore takes the punt back 66 yards and sets the 49ers up to score their first touchdown of the game perfectly. And it was a huge shift in the game because instead of Cleveland being up 7-0 and the Browns being all pumped up and the crowd going absolutely crazy because their quarterback just hit a deep pass on the 49ers, they punt. And then the Niners take it almost back for a touchdown. And a few plays later, they get in the end zone. And it's the Niners that have the lead. It's the Niners that put points up on the board against that great defense without really having to earn it.
Totally. This was one of those things where the wind, right, like was playing such a factor on the both ends in this game. And Shedeur, they gave Wind a little bit of credit. He overthrew him. The wind carried it, maybe. Okay, perhaps. And then it's kind of like, okay, both teams go 3 and out. We're just getting a feel for this game. Like, this is going to be a tough sledding for the 49ers on offense. You could already see it with, the amount of play action, pocket movement. They knew they weren't going to be able to block Cleveland. So it was, how many different ways can we find answers to get yards without being able to block them? That was the magic of what the Niners kept doing on offense. Because the reality is, they don't man on man. They cannot block those guys up front. That's the reality. But they found ways to create advantages for themselves to be able to block them long enough to either get the ball out, run the football, do those sorts of things. And then, this is just a great play by Sky Moore. And by the way, speaking of special teams, what did you think of them taking the ball to start the game? Originally, I thought this was, they listened to Rob Guerrera and under review because he's been mentioning it and how he wants them to do that. But then I thought maybe it had something to do with the side selection and maybe they wanted the wind in the first and fourth quarter and that's why they did that. And then Cleveland chose to kick or defer.
Yeah. So I know that Tim Kawakami likes to think that he was the only person that ever thought that the 49ers should take the ball first because they want their offense to have a chance to score first. You're not, Tim. Other people have mentioned it, specifically me. But Kyle was asked about it today. I'm not sure if it was Tim that asked. I haven't listened to the conference call. I only read the transcript. But he expressly said it was because they wanted to have the wind at their back in the fourth quarter.
Oh, come on. Vish Kumar and +1.
So there you go. Brett Davis says, how about giving Brant Boyer some love? We talked about coaching matters and the instant reaction without mentioning the special teams coordinator. We did mention the special teams a lot. I don't know if we gave Boyer praise by name, but he obviously deserves it. I mean, look, we had our issues even earlier in the year, right? They straightened it out. They fixed it.
For me, I don't think it's as much Boyer, because to your point, we saw like 5 games of horrible special teams, even with Boyer, right? And we've seen 6 years of horrible special teams with 3 different coordinators who've had varying different amount of successes in other places as special teams coordinator. I think it comes down to the fact that somewhere along the way, this team realized, like, shit, if we want to win games with what we have on offense and defense, we better start winning on special teams. Like, for so long, it was, how do we win the game on offense and defense? And if we win on those 2 phases, it doesn't really matter what our special teams does. And that's why they would so often out-scheme teams on offense and defense. And how did they lose that game? How did they blow that lead? Well, they did some dumb stuff on special teams that you wouldn't expect from a good football team or a veteran football team or a well-coached football team. And I think what's changed to me is the question I would ask. And so maybe I'm just trying to answer maybe this is confirmation bias for me. But the question I would ask is this something that the whole team believes in? Does the whole team believe it's important? Is this something that everybody puts effort into? Because clearly they practice it. Clearly they sign people for it. But it doesn't seem like something that they culturally are involved in. I think that's changed. I think they think, oh, crap, Sky Moore needs to break one for us because that's really important for our offense in this sort of game, in this sort of situation. Our special teams needs to create turnovers and all of that because, hey, our defense isn't so good. We need these sorts of sudden change, big plays, and we're seeing that culturally change. And then, dude, Sky Moore is just somehow a good returner. He goes 100 miles an hour, and that always leads to him getting completely decked when he does go down by anyone. But he's just a flat out good returner. And I made fun of the trade, and I'll keep saying it. I was wrong. Great trade.
Yeah, I was ripping him early in the year. I wanted him off the team. I was wrong too. He's been good. Kyle talked about how he doesn't hesitate when he hits those holes on the returns. And sometimes he gets blasted because of it, because you kind of just have to have faith that they're going to be there and going to open up. And when they do, it looks phenomenal. But when they don't, you pay the price physically. But I think too, Vish, like there's been buy-in from the team because they've seen the impact on the field. They have seen it. They've felt it. They know. Kyle talked about it after the game. He specifically called the special teams a weapon. They have seen, hey, we wouldn't be able to be where we are without Eddie Pinheiro making every single field goal that he's kicked, without Sky Moore returning punts and kickoffs and shortening the field for our backup quarterback or our injured starting quarterback. You don't have to sell it when they can see the results on the field.
Yeah, and someone brought up Nick Martin in the chat.
Woo.
Dude, they don't want to play Nick Martin for some reason, right? Like, that's why Eric Kendricks was signed, let's be honest, because Curtis Robinson, he's only so good. Gifford is not so good. Eric Kendricks was signed to play. But Nick Martin, like we said during the preseason, like we thought after the draft, has the Alshire Greenlaw, I'm going to just put my body on the line 100 miles an hour every time I hit something quality to him. And it's great for special teams because he leads to some loud, nasty collisions. Yeah. Someone's talking about the Bears. I'm sorry. God damn.
Nick Martin looking real good. Adam McGurk says, I agree. The special teams, too, they forced a bunch of fumbles on Sunday on returns. Now, the Browns recovered almost all of them. Not all of them, but almost all of them. But, yeah, Nick Martin on special. When he can just run and tackle, he's awesome. That's what he does. The problem is whenever he gets somebody blocking him, he can't get off of it because he's small.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah, but I think when he runs and tackles, he's a freaking missile out there.
I think I don't think they think he knows the defense in the way that they trust him to execute. That's why they keep going and getting any other option to play in front of him. And it's a pretty sad reality because, look, NFL players and people all develop at different rates. But when you take a linebacker in the 3rd round, you think he's going to get your defense down and be playing by week 8 when every linebacker you have is injured.
Right. That's the other part of this is that literally they're out there, signing Eric Kendricks the guy that literally left them at the altar because they're desperate for people. I mean, when Nick Martin went down and then Curtis Robinson went down, I'm like, we're out of linebackers.
Jalen Graham.
Yeah, that's where we are.
I was like, he's still here? Is this like a Scott McClugan joke?
Okay, so the Niners go up 7-0. The Bears get the ball, and they are moving it down the field, primarily on the ground, primarily due to screen passes, because especially in the first half, that's pretty much all they let Shedeur Sanders throw in this game over and over again. Eventually, the Niners get a stop on 3rd and 3. It is 4th and 1, and the Browns try to go back to the well on the ground again, and Malik Mustafa and Jordan Elliott shut that ish down, and a promising Browns drive is stuffed thanks to the Niners defense.
Yeah, great play. Jordan Elliott's he's just been having a good year week in and week out players on the Niners. They've had some really good signings the last couple of years. They've had some really good low bargain value moves. Some have gotten more notoriety. Jordan Elliott is one that hasn't. Definitely playing a lot closer to the second round pick he was from Missouri for the Niners. And definitely a valuable player.
This is all emotion right now. I don't have the stats to back this up, but I feel like in 4th and short situations, the Niners have been good this year on defense. In my head, I feel like I can recall multiple times on 4th and short where they have shut that down.
Yeah, the thing with 4th down, right, is so many teams go for it that you can almost game plan those situations like 3rd down. Oh, am I echoing?
If you're echoing, hop out and hop back.
No, it came in for a second. It stopped. Okay. And so it's just the Saleh effect, right? Where it feels like unless you pull a rabbit out of the hat on them or someone blows an assignment, like they're going to be knowing what's coming. Like they were ready for where Judkins was running that, and they're going to fly to the ball and make you earn that on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. And the funny thing is, one of the underrated things about the Browns too, other than their defense, and it kind of dissipated over the course of the game, but their offensive line is terrific. Bitonio is going to the Hall of Fame. Teller's a great player. Posick is a good center, and Jack Conklin is a longtime good right tackle. And they're very good at run blocking. And we saw that at points in this game where Judkins would have success. But anytime Cleveland really needed to run the ball, like in the red zone, or anytime they needed to run the ball, like to your point, 3rd and short, 4th and short, Niners all of a sudden, like they knew what was coming there. And it was almost like, hey, we know we're not so talented on defense that we can try to stop you on every play. So we're going to take our chances on when we're going to really go for it and come up with what we're going to go for to stop you. And it's just good coaching. It's just great coaching.
It's going to be a recurring theme throughout the show today. So the Niners stop Cleveland. They get the ball back. They do nothing with it. They go 1 yard in 3 plays. They punt the ball. They force a fumble on the return, but Cleveland picks it back up. And that's the end of the first quarter. So it's 7-0 after 1. Cleveland gets the ball. They're kind of moving the ball down the field. Shedeur gets hit at one point, and the ball is floating in the middle of the field and somehow drops into the hands of a Cleveland Browns wide receiver. And this was interesting. This was interesting, 11. Jeez. 11. I should back to the instant reaction. I'm sorry. I talked about this during the instant reaction. It's 3rd and 10. They run a screen pass for 3 yards. The Niners are off the field, but there's a penalty, and the penalty's on the Browns. And I am stunned that Kyle Shanahan accepts the penalty because it gives the Browns the chance to get back on the field and run a play on 3rd and 15. And to me, it was a sign that Kyle Shanahan had no respect for that Browns offense, or, if we want to be kind, a ton of respect for Robert Saleh's defense because he put them back on the field when they were off the field.
Okay, so I didn't think about that deeply, actually. I thought it was just about, we can maybe kick him out of field goal range because at that point, right, Cleveland is now going with the wind in the second quarter. So those 5 yards maybe do make a difference in terms of how well their kicker was going to kick it. And I do believe also at that point in the game, Shanahan very, very much thought like every point matters. Like we just got a, big punt return that got us in position. We're now up 7-0. Like 7-3 is a very different ball game. Like every point matters in this game. It's tough to throw. So if you want to even get 5 yards throwing it with your rookie quarterback, like try that rather than just having a free field goal from where you are.
They
But
were
I like your perspective. I didn't think of it that way.
They were on the 28-yard line. So it would have been 28 plus, what is it? Another, would have been a 48-yard field goal around there, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But then Sanders gets back on the field. He gets sacked by Cleveland Farrell, who was a monster on the game. I'm just going to say this, Vish, because there is a certain defensive line coach that you like to rip every time you get. And Cleveland Farrell has come in and he has been getting sacks for the 49ers like nobody else on the team.
Well, one, I finished Mike Silver's book, and there's a quote from Mike LaFleur that says that he believes Forster, Kasarik are two people, along with Bosa, that will never leave the 49ers. Like, they're the ones that Kyle will never let go of, which is funny to me for all I've said about Kasarik, but okay. But secondarily, I totally agree. I think their defensive line has actually played very, very well versus the run, especially. And that's despite all of the injuries. And I'm also like, dude, I will say, like, come on.
Here comes
I'm not the only one, but you're smirking at your TV when you see that, oh my God, Cleveland Farrell got another sack and that's how he got it. Like, is this a joke? Like, this is funny.
Look at the people in the chat, Fish, who are waiting for you to bash Chris Kasarik.
Okay, well, okay, I'm not. Am I really pocket watching him that way? I am kind of, right? Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. We're all smirking, and I mean this with all due respect, okay? But there's a reason the Niners were able to poach him off of someone's practice squad. Like, we're all smirking when he ends up being the one to end up with a sack. Like, this one, Shedeur just keeps running backwards and sacks himself. And I think the other one he gets in this game, he also runs down Shedeur, and it's like, Shedeur, how slow are you? Like, Cleveland Farrell isn't that fast, man. But we're all smirking at our TV when we see Cleveland Farrell sacking the quarterback, man. Like, this is, you see Myles Garrett and what he does to get a sack on one side, and then you see Farrell here. Like, come on, we're all smirking at our TV a little bit.
I will not have you besmirching the good name of the 49ers sack leader, or at least tied for the lead with Bryce Huff with 4, which is crazy to say out loud, but that is a fact that is 100%.
Hey, you want to talk about a quality rush in this game? They had a 3-man rush that should have been intentional grounding, that also should have been a penalty in the end zone, that also should have been a safety, that didn't turn out to be anything. But Bryce Huff on that, like, Cleveland, take some notes, okay? There's not stats for that, but Bryce Huff, that's the pass rusher.
Yeah, he just wrecked it there. All right, now we get to the sequence that ticked me off because the 49ers get the ball back and they're going down the field, matriculating the ball, as they say. George Kittle has a nice play. They're running the ball down the field. They get to 3rd and 10. They complete a pass to George Kittle for 6 yards. It's 4th and 4 at the Cleveland 40-yard line.
This
if there is
raged, I know.
One thing that I cannot stand, it is punting the ball when you have less than 5 yards to go in opponent territory. Unless you are playing in a tornado, you go for that. I understand not wanting to kick the field goal. You don't have the wind. I get that. But you can't punt the ball in that scenario. It is so cowardly. But Kyle Shanahan punts the ball and the Browns get the ball back and they run it down the 49ers' throats and go right down the field and eventually score a touchdown. And it's like, why? The value of pinning them deep is such BS. Just go for it. Offenses can get back to where you started in like 2 plays nowadays in 2025. I hated that he punted that.
Yeah, and I think you're right, but I think it goes to show how old school he is and what kind of game he thought he was in. He really thought this was, 2008, and you have this full-on defensive weather battle, and they were going to make this rookie quarterback's life miserable just on scheme, where they were going to just rotate coverage and all of that, where they didn't feel like they could move the ball on them. And the way they called the game, with all due respect, again, I don't think Shanahan thought that they were going to comfortably put 26 on them. I think Shanahan thought it was going to be very difficult to score. They were going to have their opportunities. They needed to be efficient. They needed to not give the ball away. But I don't think he called the game like, oh, yeah, we're going to really just give it to him. Because I think the way he called the entire game, he did not think they could block him. And he felt like, oh crap, they can wreck the game on us at any time. And so this was a classic old school coaching decision of, hey, I've got the lead. It's 7-0 on the road. I'm against the wind right now. Let's see if we can pin them deep in their own territory and put pressure on their quarterback. And to your point, Judkins just went all the way down the field.
Yeah, they ran it, I think, 10 straight times at one point. But here's the thing, Vish. If you're going to sit there and say, well, we don't know how we're going to score, and it's going to be really hard to score, well, then you don't know if you're going to get back to that 40-yard line where you were. So why, when you're already there, would you voluntarily give up a chance to score?
That's what I mean in terms of like that old school coach thinking, right? Because at least the NFL I grew up watching, and I'm sure for you, it's many years before that. So the one you grew up watching too, but like playing like Madden used to call it, right? Like playing the field position game in a windy game on the road. Like this was considered good tactical football at one point, right? Like today, everybody goes for it on fourth down in that situation. Today, everybody doesn't care about getting pinned, all of these sorts of things, because the way offense plays is totally different. But that's what I mean in terms of he had a very old school, like this is going to be an AFC North defensive type of battle. And I mean, shoot, the Niners didn't even really go for a kill shot in this game. They were just really efficient. They still dropped 26, like no problem against a great defense. Good defense with a great player.
So the Browns get the ball, as we say, and they just pound it down the 49ers' throats. This was their only glimmer of life in the game. It's the only touchdown they scored in the game. They run. And then from 34 yards away, Shedeur Sanders actually steps up in the pocket. I don't know what the hell Luke Gifford is doing. I don't know what the hell the safeties behind him were doing, because Fannin catches the pass, and the quote-unquote tackle attempt at the goal line was pathetic by the two players there. He strolls into the end zone for a touchdown, and all of a sudden the game is tied or about to be tied, and then we get into problems on the PAT.
Yeah, this was a tough play. I think Luke Gifford is a flat player. I'm not sure if he's supposed to carry, but I think maybe Curtis Robinson, I don't know. But it was just a tough watch. And honestly, Rob, when I saw how easy that drive looked, it shocks me that they didn't score another point for the rest of the game. And some of it was self-inflicted, but some of it was just great defense too on the 49ers part. And they made this drive look so easy with how they ran the football that I wouldn't have been able to tell you at that point in the game, like, oh yeah, the Niners D is about to shut them out for the rest of the game.
And then they have too many men on the field for the point after. The Browns get the penalty yardage. They move up and they run it into the end zone, because why not? They've been running the ball down the 49ers' throats to that point. And that was the only point in this game where I was like, see, these are the stupid stuff you do to lose games to bad teams. Is just dopey stuff like that. Breakdown in coverage. Then you're not focused on the PAT. And all of a sudden, the Browns are up 8-7. And I'm like, are we really going to go into halftime losing to this freaking team and this quarterback? I was not a happy camper after that Browns touchdown drive.
Yeah, I agree. And I also thought the 2-point conversion play was tough because they were ready for it. They were ready for the run. He just was able to push slightly across the line on that collision.
Did he really get in? I don't know if he got in. I'm still not convinced.
They blow it so quick for the touchdowns and the tush pushes on first downs as if there's no continuance. I mean, the touchdown, okay, I kind of get it. But the first downs, they act like, oh, once he gets across the line, it's safe. Nobody can touch him. Nobody, the play is blown dead. Oh, God, don't get me started. But yeah, I totally agree.
So now we get to the final drive before halftime. And this drive was important for a lot of different reasons. Niners get the ball back. It's 3rd and 10 because they throw a couple of incomplete passes. And this was the first example of this game. Brock statistically did not have a monster game, but on 3rd down in this game, which most of them were 3rd and longs, he made plays. He drops back, he hangs in the pocket, and he throws a dot to Ricky Pearsall, who not only makes the catch, he, I believe, gets out of bounds and stops the clock on 3rd and 10, and it kept the chance to score alive.
Totally. And I love that you went there. And look, This is where I hate that stupid, 58% of his dropbacks pressure. Let's look at the ones that really matter. This was 3rd and 10, and Ricky Pearsall is running a pivot route that's, 12 yards deep, where he's going 12 yards, turning his hips to the quarterback and then changing direction and coming back. Do you know how long it takes for him to run the route? Do you know how good the protection was on this play? They were able to manufacture protection when they needed to throughout this game. And they were able to create opportunities where even when there were people around him, he had clear space to throw the ball and he was letting it rip. And to your point, this was a dot. He drove the ball better than we've probably seen him drive the ball all year compared to Seattle, especially when you consider the fact that he was throwing the ball at heavy winds and his accuracy was quite good every time it needed to be yesterday. And this drive I thought was kind of his, they needed this drive before the half. They needed to steal momentum. And he went, okay, I'm a $50 million quarterback. Let me drive you down the field.
And Kyle specifically said today in the conference call, he wasn't sure they were going to try and score because they didn't have the win. And he wasn't, didn't know if it was the smartest decision. And he said that play, that 3rd down play, when they got it number 1, but also when he just saw the ball, saw the throw by Brock and the fact that down on the field at that level, it wasn't as windy as it was higher up, made him confident that they could go and try and score. And Brock just got into a rhythm because he hits Pearsall for 13. Next play, he hits Juwan Jennings for 12. Next play, he drops back to pass and chucks it deep because 85 is down there somewhere, baby. And George Kittle looks over his right shoulder, then stops and looks over his left shoulder, is getting one arm pinned to his body by the defender and makes a one-handed falling down catch near the sideline for 33 yards. George Kittle is playing the best he has ever played. And it is every time he is out there, he does something that's like, oh my God, I can't believe he did it.
Yeah. I can't believe we went this far in the half without mentioning him. I think we mentioned him briefly because they had one short pass to him on a 3rd down that fell short. He's one of the best players in football, hands down. He's just so good. And he's still injured. Remember, he tore his hamstring. This is not something that he just magically recovered. And to your point, he is playing out of his mind. He's always played out of his mind. He is one of the best players in football. I love that you pointed out the shoulder thing because I think his ball tracking is so underrated. I've always had this argument about quarterback accuracy that sometimes receivers can make quarterbacks look more accurate than they are just based on their ability to track the ball and adjust their route as they're tracking it. I think Jerry Rice is maybe the best example of this in NFL history because there will be so many passes that you will see him catch right between the 8-0 that he catches between the 8-0 because of how he adjusted his route, tracking the ball in its flight, and being able to catch the ball and run after the catch. And so, if he maybe ran the route exactly where it goes, then maybe you have to make a more acrobatic catch at the catch point. And I'm not saying every acrobatic catch is because of that, but I do think ball tracking and the way the receiver sees the ball as they're coming out of their break and into their routes and adjust to it is one of the most underrated, under-talked about things. And George Kittle's is elite. The way he tracks the trajectory, the way he's able to slow his speed, up his speed while on the route and still keep an eye on the ball, and then ultimately concentrate and bring it down. He is unbelievable. Dang, that is really, really funny. I'll leave you to answer that. But the one thing I'll say is that felt like redemption for the 2019 Super Bowl, right? This time he's draped all over. He's on the other corner on the other side at the end of the half. Now, he still got robbed because he should have had a timeout at 10 seconds and maybe the Niners get a shot at the end zone. But that was redemption for that. Now, Zach Zichter, I love what you're doing here.
You're on the list, Zach. Zach says, somebody says blocking is the second best thing Kittle does. Was that Levin? Don't you put that into the universe. That's my thing. Damn it. It's true. No one acknowledges it. They love to talk about his blocking, which is awesome. But I feel like he's even underrated as a receiver, partly because of the ball tracking, like you said, but just the hands, everything, man. It's everything. And so the 49ers get down.
Dude, he's just and they can go to him. This game is such an example. They can go to him at any point, and it's like, we need something big play, whatever. Oh, yeah, we have George Kittle. Oh, yeah, he's one of the best players in football. Let's go to him really quick so he can bail us out.
And he seemingly has so many times, especially this year. So the refs let 4 seconds tick off the clock inexplicably because they're trying to figure out whether or not Kittle actually caught it. Niners get the timeout. Matt Gay shows up, and he does everything he can to miss the field goal from 25 yards out, which would have been hilarious because Jake Moody missed a 27-yarder earlier this year for the 49ers. And the fact that he would have missed a shorter kick would have made me want to rip out my eyeballs. But luckily, the ball deflects just enough through the uprights. And instead of going into halftime down 8-7, the Niners go into halftime up 10-8.
If he missed that, I think that we would have to have a real conversation about kickers, because that was way too good a drive to have him miss a 25-yard kick and ruin it and not even have credit for it or anything. I'm sorry, the kicker can't have that much legacy control here, okay? There's stuff on the line. There's arguments on the line, okay? This matters to some people. The kicker can't have this. This is like when J.R. Smith threw that ball away, man. There's arguments you lose, just because people do things like that.
Brisbee Life on Twitch says Matt Gay must have been taking advice from Jake Moody that morning. And Benali says Jake Moody is the only kicker to miss a kick for the Niners this year. And Matt Gay is not the only kicker for the 49ers to doink one off the upright and have it go through, because Eddie Pinheiro did the same thing. So 2 Niners kickers have done that this year. But you're right. It would have changed a lot of different things going into halftime and the feel of this game. And luckily for the Niners, it went in, and they go up into halftime with the lead. Now, we're going to get into the second half of this game in a second. But first, I just want to remind everybody again, if you want to make your picks, please do it with Sleeper. That is what we use when we make our picks every Friday. It is the best, most convenient app out there. It has news, it has picks, it has fantasy, whatever you need, it's on the app. So if you haven't signed up yet, go and check it out, because for a limited time only, new users will get a free $20 entry. You don't have to deposit any money, just sign up and they'll give you the $20 entry to go play and see if you like it. And if you do like it and you want to deposit some money, use our code GSP. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. This is where Vish compliments my Sleeper read.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You crushed it, dude. You're on I see what's going on now. This is I get up and I just do Sleeper reads now.
Look, I've had a lot of practice. We do this every day. Let's just say that. So, okay.
A lot of people do a lot of things every day. Matt get kicks every day, for example. And you saw what happened. Not everybody's ready for prime time, baby.
That's why it went in, because he practiced just enough. Okay, so Cleveland gets the ball first in the second half of this game. They kick the ball off. They go 5 plays and out. Suddenly, the running game is not quite as successful. Kyle Shanahan specifically mentioned after halftime they went to more 5-man fronts, which made a big difference.
Yeah, totally. And we brought up Jordan Elliott, and George Kittle was the one who singled him out after the game himself. George Kittle, by the way, has this new thing, and I'll allow it.
Collins, I think.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll allow it, where he starts talking like he's the GM about the team. And it's okay. Only you can do that, George. Okay, George. I would make fun of Mike McGlinchey when he would do that, but you get to do that, okay? And he brought up Alfred Collins. But he didn't bring it up in that sort of way. It was more complimenting a teammate who's crushing it. And I think he's right on. Some of the things we've seen from their defense in terms of their defensive line being able to stop the run, sometimes it's not always showing up in the stat sheet, but he's an absolute manimal. And my favorite Chris Simsism, size is a skill. It's a really big difference maker. And we talked about before the draft of how important this particular style of player was for the 49ers. It's why they invested a high pick in Javon Kinlaw. And it's why they invested a high pick in Alfred Collins. And for him to turn out the way he's turned out and develop this year, we'll see what happens with Michael Williams and, how his career turns out, how he recovers from the injury. But Alfred Collins, to me, they're going to be looking for star trajectory from him. His year 2 expectations are going to be sky high.
Saleh tells all the production teams how he thinks Alfred Collins is going to be amazing. He's the one guy that he's also the one guy that's still healthy. So that could be a factor for it too. But yeah, I mean, the arrow.
God doesn't gift everybody that sort of just natural, just size and speed and athleticism.
He's on his way. The arrow's pointing up for Alfred Collins, and I think obviously he would only look so much better if he had Michael and Bosa also around him like that. When everybody gets back next year, unfortunately, it'll have to be. They've got an opportunity to really have something along that D line.
Yeah, I mean, how many what 320 people have wider shoulders than they have hips? You know what I mean? You remember that picture? You were showing it when we were talking about him way back during rookie minicamp of like just him from the back. He's such a mammoth human being. And then he's putting it together with just like savvy, smart football play, or what that is from a D-line perspective, as far as I can tell. And I'm sure it's a lot deeper because I only have so much knowledge compared to what's probably actually going on. But yeah, he's crushing it. He doesn't really have that stat where when we do the drive by drive, we can hit him. So I'm glad that you kind of just went over it into that 5-man front, because I think it parlayed certainly into what all three of those guys are doing, specifically him.
So the Browns punt, the 49ers get the ball back. They start to move the ball down the field. Brock makes a nice pass to Jennings on 3rd and 6 for 7 yards to keep the drive moving. Ultimately, the drive stalls and the 49ers have to punt. Great. Then on the ensuing Cleveland possession, they are moving the ball kind of down the field again. They're at their 33-yard line. It is 4th and 1. They decide to have Harold Fannin take the direct snap. He immediately drops the direct snap. I am on record as saying I think he would have been short anyway. To me, it looked like the 49ers clogged the middle of that field anyway. But regardless, Luke Gifford recovers the fumble, and now the 49ers, again, are set up immediately in scoring range at the Cleveland 32-yard line, and they go down the field, and they do the damn thing.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think to this point, right, I want to say the score is a little misleading at the end because of the fact Cleveland could never score, which never allowed them to get back into this game. But to this point, it kind of played out as the low scoring, kind of hard to get by defensive battle. The Niners really had that one drive that resulted in the field goal that Purdy led. They had a kind of start in deep in Cleveland's territory thanks to a big punt return leading to a touchdown. They got run up down the field by Quinshon Judkins on a big drive. And now, again, they had a short field because Cleveland went for it on 4th down inside of their own territory. And Rob, I don't get not putting the ball in your quarterback's hands in 4th down inside your own territory and going Wildcat. Like, this isn't Sperano in 2011 with Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams. Like, I don't get that. I think that's one of the weirder play calls. And I don't even care about the Shador hysteria because I think, like, I don't have a horse in that race. I don't really care about it. I'm kind of indifferent about Shador. But that was like, I'm with whoever, like, what?
Well, when we talk about the Niners like being a professional team, right? They're not doing dumb stuff like this. This is the stuff that the Niners are not doing. And you're right. It was a 10-8 game at that point. That's a huge play in the game. Forget the fumble because it didn't matter because it was 4th down. Like I said, I think he was going to get stopped anyway. But that's a turnover, essentially, even if he doesn't fumble the ball. And it sets up the 49ers. And again, they have a chance to put up points on the board without really having to quote unquote earn it. Now, again, I don't want to take anything away from the offense because I thought they were very opportunistic in this game and they cashed in when they needed to. But, this is certainly the game script the 49ers would have drawn up going up against this defense. And Kyle wastes no time. He's like, all right, Christian, do it. Christian McCaffrey for 7, McCaffrey for 1, McCaffrey for 4, McCaffrey for 2. Brock Purdy passes 2, McCaffrey for no gain. Then another Brock Purdy play on 3rd down. And this is massive, obviously, because getting a field goal makes it a 13-8 game instead of a 17-8 game. Brock Purdy drops back to pass on 3rd and 8, looks off the linebackers, gets him to move by looking to Brian Robinson in the flat, and then drops it as he's getting drilled. I think it was by Mason Graham. Drops it to George Kittle, who again makes a hell of a catch and a play for a 14-yard gain on 3rd and 8. All the way down to the Cleveland 4-yard line.
Yeah, this was just George Kittle doing George Kittle things. And for the most part, like, to your point, like, even in this short field, like, one, Cleveland had a plan for McCaffrey, and they had a good one. They shut him down, and they did a very good job of that. But then, two, we saw how difficult it was for the 49ers offense to move the ball 30 yards. But I thought this drive, to me, showed two things. One is the 49ers have this increased physicality on years when they make the playoff run, and it's usually starting around mid-November. And we're right on cue December 1st. And I thought I saw that physicality. Like, I thought this was Cleveland realizing, like, oh, they're kind of giving it to us. They're as physical as us. They want to hit. Like, they really want to play like that. And especially when they were able to pound the ball into the end zone behind McCaffrey in that last little bit from 4 yards and in, I don't think Cleveland's defense thought that they could just power them through. Oh, sorry, it was the read option with Brock Purdy. That was just a little trickery, but they were able to, run it down all the way into the end zone. I don't think Cleveland thought that they could run it in from them even when they got to the 4-yard line. I think their defense seemed very confident just from a demeanor standpoint. And I thought this was kind of the first indication of, one, the Niners have that higher echelon physicality that's going to trouble teams when we go through December and we start getting into the playoff stretch. And then, two, they really brought it to Cleveland. And, dude, Cleveland, like, Andrew Berry killed it. Like, Carson Schlesinger is a good player. Mason Graham is playing well. There's a lot of good players on that defense that are not, the great Denzel Ward and then Myles Garrett. But it's one of those things where, dude, the Niners, they want to hit.
They know what it is this time of year. They know what the physicality needs to be. And I loved the read option call there because to me, it took advantage of what the game was shaping up to be, just a brawl, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. So everybody thought that he was going to give it to McCaffrey again. They were just going to kind of keep pounding away. But here's the thing. When I watched the film, he didn't trick Jim Schwartz. I thought he did. He didn't. The Browns are set up to stop that play. They have.
Yeah, I think Myles Garrett just goes for the running back.
Myles Garrett goes for the running back, but there's another, I don't know if it was a linebacker or a safety. There's another guy right next to Myles Garrett who's right there to take the quarterback. And instead, he doesn't go for the quarterback. He goes for the running back. And it's fascinating too, because to that player, that defender's right, there's a receiver and another Browns player across from him. And that defender points to the Browns player and points to the receiver across from him and says, you got him. And then he points to himself and he points to the backfield. And it looks like he points at McCaffrey. So maybe he just didn't understand his assignment on the play. But I loved the call from Kyle Shanahan. I think they can absolutely use Brock Purdy's mobility in that part of the field specifically because Brock is quick and he's elusive. And I loved it. And they stuck it into the end zone. They didn't have to settle for a field goal. And they go up 17-8 instead of 13-8. And at that point, you started to at least exhale a little bit.
You exhaled a lot of it because it was a 2-possession game. And it was like, at that point, like, can Shador score? Like, Shador can maybe, if it's a 1-possession game, anything can happen.
Right.
But if they have to score 2 times in order to take the lead, okay, maybe like we can exhale a little bit. To your point, maybe they had it handled on defense and maybe they were just the Niners haven't really put a read option with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey out there that often. And so, and I don't even know if they've called one in the last 2 years between those two. I feel like that was a very much rookie or Purdy thing, but I might be forgetting. And so, anyway, so because of that, he might just have played to the tendency and gotten burned that way. But what I love about it is it's the emotional aspect of it, right? Like, football is an emotional game. This was an early start on the road. Like, this game meant a lot to Kyle Shanahan, obviously, because people were doing the whole Jim Schwartz stats thing. But on top of that, like, to the Niners, this was a big game in terms of their playoff interest. This was a big game in terms of, hey, like, building their confidence, all of these sorts of things. They certainly were playing a tough defense. And to Sloppy Joseph's point, for Purdy to hit them with the Dougie and how it changed, like, the emotions of the team and, like, the way the team, like, rallied around that sort of thing. Like, to me, that also played a large element in what we're talking about. And it goes back to what you and I were talking about after the first Purdy start versus Arizona. Like, we can say what we want, Rob, but this team believes he's their quarterback, and it gives them a different sort of belief in themselves and a different sort of enjoyment. It's the Jimmy Garoppolo effect all over again. And in fact, I hate comparing it to him because I think Brock's a much better player, but the bounce back, the way Shanahan called the game and all of that, it reminded me a lot of Jimmy when you counted the Niners out after Jimmy would have a horrific 3-interception performance. And then the next game they'd play the Rams or something. And next thing you know, Garoppolo finished 15-20 for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns, So it reminded me a lot of that and the way they called the game and how buttoned up it was. But it wasn't to compare Brock to Jimmy. It was just the way the games looked.
By the way, later in this game, Brock Purdy throws a touchdown pass. He was in a tie with Colin Kaepernick for touchdown passes by a 49ers quarterback. He moves one ahead of Colin Kaepernick. Next up on the list,
Jeff Garcia.
Alex Smith with 81.
Smith? Well, I guess that makes sense that Smith was in front of Kaepernick.
Jimmy Garoppolo is 82 on the list. So Brock could pass Alex Smith and Jimmy Garoppolo for career touchdown passes with the 49ers this season.
Jimmy G was above those guys?
Yeah. Look, Alex Smith was a quarterback for a long time, but he didn't throw that many touchdowns.
Yeah. I thought about that for a second. You're right.
So let's get back to the game. Let's continue breaking it down. Niners kick off, and Matt Gay does his damnedest to try and kick the ball out of bounds. And the returner for the Malachi Corley, man, we talked about the Niners not doing dumb stuff. This was a dumb thing the 49ers did because you're going to give the Browns the ball at the 40, but Malachi Corley catches it like it's a sideline pass and deliberately keeps his feet in bounds instead of putting 1 foot out of bounds, which would have given the Browns the ball at the 40-yard line, and Cleveland's pinned all the way back to their 5.
Yeah, that type of stuff is hella suspect, man. Like, that's the type of stuff it's like, what?
What are you talking about in your special teams meeting? You're the returner, and you don't know that?
How does that even happen?
Brutal by the Browns. Just Browns doing Browns things.
And it's almost like when he was tracking the ball, he had no idea where the sideline was either. And he had no grasp of, I just ran 15 yards this way to track this ball. I might be near the sideline, because after he caught it, he looks down and then he goes to stop himself. Like, his momentum was going way out of bounds. He didn't look to stop himself as he was catching it. He catches it and then he's like, oh, and then he's trying to stop himself as he goes out of bounds.
It was a dumb play, and it almost set the stage for the 49ers to get some more points because it's 3rd and 9 from the 6-yard line, and I don't know how they didn't call this play a safety, Bish. There's a penalty. The flag is in the end zone. There's a penalty. Shedeur Sanders is about to get sacked by Bryce Huff. It looks like, to me, he commits intentional grounding. The entire 49ers sideline is signaling safety, and then they're signaling intentional grounding. And neither of those things happened. They called a face mask penalty. I don't even know where the face mask penalty was. I watched the play 3 times, but the Niners get no sack, no intentional grounding, no safety.
Horrible. And this was one of the rushes of the game from Bryce Huff. This was a 3-man pressure near the goal line, and Bryce Huff put it on.
Every once in a while, he turns it on a little bit, and he did there. And so Cleveland has to punt. Now the 49ers get the ball back. They do nothing with it. The only sack of Myles Garrett came on this possession. It's just so ridiculous. It's 3rd and 4. I'm worried. I'm looking, where's 95? They motion George Kittle out to Myles Garrett's side, and I'm like, oh, whew. Okay, we're going to chip him. We're going to double him, whatever. And Myles Garrett teleports to Brock Purdy. He got in so fast because he saw the chip coming. He moves inside, and it was just shocking how fast he was, and he sacked Brock Purdy. I wasn't even mad. I was like, that's the only one he's gotten this whole game, and that was amazing.
My reaction to that is he plays in the same division as TJ Watt, and TJ Watt has very similar stats in all of this. But it's going to be one of those things where you watched both of their careers and you watched TJ Watt abuse tight ends to get his sacks. And then you watch Myles Garrett have 3 sacks against the left tackle where it's like that. And it's like, it's not just that he had 3 sacks. It's like all 3 sacks, like he looked completely unblockable. Like it was like you couldn't even touch him. And it was their best offense. It wasn't like he's stat padding on a tight end or something like that. Though that happens, I'm not trying to, do this, but that's what I said. To me, in my lifetime, this is the best edge rusher I've ever seen. Like, It's the speed of Von Miller, the length of Aldon Smith, the use of the hands of the Bosas, the power, everything. This is I didn't grow up with Reggie White. I didn't grow up with Lawrence Taylor. I'm not saying he's that level, but this must have been what it's like to have that sort of edge player. Because again, like the defensive players of my lifetime on the defensive line that are pantheon in my mind are Aaron Donald and JJ Watt. And Watt did it on the outside for a little bit, but that was more interior. I've never seen an edge player like this. Oh my God.
He's unbelievable. I've seen Reggie White. He's right there. Like, that's the class that he is in. He is the guy. He influenced every single play call in this game, Fish. The entire game plan was, we can't let Myles Garrett destroy us. And I love Nick Bosa, and I think Nick Bosa is great. He's not on that level.
It's different. It's a completely different thing. It's a completely different athlete. Like, and we know, like, we get to watch Bosa every week. We know what a great pass rusher looks like. And to me, it's a completely different level. And God damn it, Chip Kelly. Like, screw you, Chip Kelly. Like, holy cow, Chip Kelly. Like, you want to talk about somebody I just dislike.
And explain for people that don't know why you're mad at Chip Kelly.
He beat the Rams in a meaningless game, which is the reason why the San Francisco 49ers didn't have the first overall pick. Like, imagine starting off the Kyle Shanahan tenure by drafting Myles Garrett.
God. Oh, my God. Yeah, it would have been a hell of a thing, but unfortunately we don't have that. But we do have
we had to suffer through 1 year of Cassius Marsh because of you, Chip Kelly. We watched Cassius Marsh because of you.
But the Brisbee Life on Twitch is keeping a bleep list, for lack of a better term, of everyone you hate. He put Chris Kocurek on it.
On there.
Kocurek's on it. Now he just added Chip Kelly. He just said another one for the list. We're gonna put.
I got a big one for you guys. This one I'm totally right on. It's finally happening in Washington.
Oh,
Adam Peters.
Yeah,
throw him on there.
Definitely on your list for sure. The nice thing is that the 49ers punt the ball after the sack, and they immediately get it back because the returner just, I don't know if it was the wind. Maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but the ball hits him right in the chest and the stomach, and it just bounces right to Darrell Luter. You want to talk about Super Bowl redemption? Darrell Luter getting a fumble instead of causing a fumble on a punt.
No, totally. And again, this was just an opportunistic play by the 49ers special teams. Luter was there. He was present. He was aware, and he immediately jumped on this football. And I thought the way that guy, the rookie, I think it's Larvadane, the way he was catching punts the whole day kind of looked like he wasn't getting his body to the ball, and he was kind of tracking it into his hands each time. And in windy conditions, when you're not getting your full body under it, it can become a little bit risky. And again, he was a little away from the ball, and he just straight up muffed this.
So once again, the Niners are set up, this time at the Cleveland 18-yard line. And what do? They immediately go back to Christian McCaffrey. On 3rd and 5, they throw a screen to McCaffrey. And I want to shout out Spencer Burford, because he's the lead blocker on the screen, and he pancakes somebody that lets Christian McCaffrey get the first down. And eventually it leads to Brock Purdy throwing a touchdown to Juwan Jennings on 3rd down. And now you feel great, because now it's 23-8. And you're like, the only way we lose this game is if the world implodes.
Yeah. And just another weird Christian McCaffrey point. I might be so wrong on this every time, but I thought this screen was another one. It seemed like they had a convoy of blockers. It seemed like they had the numbers, and he somehow managed to, like, I thought this was a touchdown. And it just somehow didn't work out that way. For some reason, he went a direction that it didn't feel like was the direction to me that he should have gone on TV in order to score. Again, from my purview, it's very different. He's very, very intelligent with how he runs and cuts on the football field. But this screen was another one where I was like, they had 3 blockers in front of him, and Burford got a clean block. How did he not score?
Sometimes I do think especially with some screen passes, I feel like he's made some odd.
This year, it's been a few times where I've been like, wait a second. This feels like it should get 40 yards, and it just got 8 yards.
And I want to point out, too, because there was an example. The play before the Juwan Jennings touchdown, Brock Purdy is rolling out. He can't find anybody, and he throws it away. He doesn't force it. He doesn't say, we got to have a touchdown here to put this game away. I think there's a window. Let me try it. He just throws it away. He lives to play another down. And guess what happens? They get Juwan Jennings open on a little slant over the middle of the field. Brock puts it on him. Touchdown. Brock had 7, I believe, throwaways in the game, which is more than he had or equal to the number that he had all year going into the night. That was a huge adjustment for Brock Purdy in this game. Just throw it away. Don't force it. Don't put the ball in harm's way because that's how you're going to lose to an inferior Browns team. And Brock understood the assignment and he did it. And I hope it clicks in his head, Vish. I hope he finally says, damn, I threw the ball away 7 times and we still put up 26 points. Maybe I can do that more often. Maybe I don't always have to force it if I want to put up the point totals that we're going to need.
Yeah, and the touchdown was also a strike. It was just another one. Back foot hits the ground, decisive. Ball comes right out, and he put it right on him. He has great chemistry with Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings is his Kendrick Bourne.
Ugh, too much chemistry with Juwan Jennings. Throw it to Ricky freaking Pearsall, please.
Wait. Are we gonna hit the Jennings Shelby Harris whole situation? Or do you want to do that?
He's a hoe, and I want that known.
Would that be the situation that you're?
Oh yeah, okay. We're gonna hit it. All right, let's let's finish this game up and let's get to that because that's
right.
Juicy to me.
Well, it's basically all over with the shouting. The Browns get the ball. They're driving down the field after the Niners touchdown. Shedeur Sanders throws a deep ball, which it looked like Malik Mustafa was beaten on the play, but it looks like an awful throw by him that was not a spiral. And then in that wind, it just died. And
Trent Green gave the nicest description of this. He's like, when you don't throw a spiral, like sometimes in these windy conditions, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, Trent Green he's awful, but he was they were hyping up Shedeur Sanders. Oh, I'm so impressed with his decision. Like, why are you rooting for this guy to be good? If he's good, say he's good, but like, we don't have to invent reasons for people to watch the game because of Shedeur Sanders. But that pass fell.
I think he's so polarizing, right? Because there's so many opinions on him that it's almost like they didn't want to come across while calling the game like they had one of those opinions of him. And they were conscious of protecting that rather than just calling the game for what it was. Because to their point, like he might be a high potential player. Honestly, didn't watch enough of him to know. I didn't think he was the greatest player at Colorado. Wasn't that shocked that he was a 5th round pick, not based on the hype, just based on I didn't think he was like that great. But I think the situation he's gone through in Cleveland is weird. I don't think he was like totally bad in his first start. I think he was fine in his first cameo. And I think this was up and down for like a young quarterback. I don't know that there's anything to write home about yet, but I also don't think there's anything to write off yet either. He's kind of in that figuring it out stage.
They didn't trust him for my money. He had
clearly not. I mean, when you go Wildcat in all those positions, they went Wildcat. Like they were trying to keep the game out of his hands.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. I mean, he only threw for 149 yards, and 25% of that came on the Browns' last drive when the Niners were up by multiple scores.
And a bunch of screens, manufactured routes, manufactured throws. They called the game like they were trying to protect his numbers, essentially.
Benali says the cost of giving Kevin Harlan on the play-by-play is putting up with Trent Green. I love Kevin
the weirdest
Harlan.
mix. You have like the sweetest, nicest guy with the most excited guy of all time. Like Trent Green needs to go with someone who matches his energy. Like who's the guy who used to go with Mark Schlereth, Dick Stockton?
Oh God, I hate it.
That's Trent Green's cup of tea.
Boy, if you just want to make my ears bleed, that's the combo that you put up with.
Dude, play for the Cowboys and you can make anybody's ears bleed. Ask Daryl Johnston.
Yeah, he was not good. So the Browns eventually try to go for it on 4th down, and Shedeur Sanders is sacked because it's 4th and 16. Keon White. How about Keon White and Keon White in this game? I thought deadline guys making an impact.
Yeah, I thought this was just Shedeur Sanders' inexperience, right? They run a game up front and he steps up right into the game and gets whacked.
Keon White's got some pop to him, man.
Keon White's a good player. This isn't Cleveland Furl. We don't smirk at our TV when Keon White makes a play, okay?
All right. Well, it was a nice sack by him. Niners get the ball back. They get a field goal on the drive. But again, it was another situation where Brock Purdy had a long down and distance, and he stepped up. This time it was 3rd and 11. He found Juwan Jennings for 13 yards that allowed the drive to continue. They kicked the field goal. A lot less exciting this time. It goes through. It's 26-8, and the game is over. And it was just the Niners handling their business in a game that they had to have because this was the softer part of their schedule before the final 3 games. They have played 13 games. They have won 9 of them, and they have a bye, and they have the Tennessee Titans coming up next, a real chance to get to 10 wins before you have to go into that final 3-game stretch of Indy, Chicago, and Seattle.
Absolutely. And to your point also about another reason why it was such a great win, when you haven't had your bye week for so long in the season, and then you have to go to freaking Cleveland of all places right before your bye and play an early start, it's a really easy game to just check out and go to your bye. Really easy. It's really hard to stay locked in, play that week out, and then be like, yes, we can now exhale completely and go to your bye. You haven't had your bye for 10 weeks, and now you got to go to Cleveland and play that sort of physical game too, because Cleveland's a physical team on defense and with their offensive line. That's awesome. That's just an awesomely coached win. Shanahan doesn't get enough credit for like the rah-rah aspect of it because he's really not rah-rah. Like he has no good, better, best. But this is how you get a group of people to believe and stay focused on a task and a goal, and not have a mental lapse in a game that it's so easy. It's very human to have a mental lapse in this sort of game.
And they didn't do that. They handled their business. And now, not only do the 49ers go into the bye with 9 wins, but as Levin pointed out on the Instant Reaction show, and I've seen others say too, because you've got the Packers and the Bears playing each other next week when the Niners are off, the Niners are going to move up in the playoff standings because one of those teams is going to lose, whether it's Chicago or whether it's Green Bay. So the Niners are going to go from the 7th seed to the 6th seed no matter what.
No, definitely. And that's going to be huge. And now they're in this kind of unique situation where originally you didn't really know what you wanted out of the NFC North, but now you really don't care what happens between Chicago and Green Bay because the only thing you're worried about is Chicago beating Detroit.
Right. And because Detroit's like falling off too. Like they're a game and a half, I think, behind the 49ers right now.
That loss to Green Bay really put them behind the 8 ball because the idea for me was if Detroit beats Green Bay, then Green Bay beats Chicago twice, then Detroit also beats Chicago. Now what's going on to those Bears, man? Oh yeah, 9-8 on the horizon. But
I knew you'd find a way.
Look at what happens to you.
Radio Ninja says December 18th is the day to watch. Niners are a game behind Rams in Seattle, and they play each other on that day. Niners need to win the next 2 games at least. Everything is on the table for San Francisco. The NFC West is on the table. Obviously, a wild card spot is on the table, and the number 1 seed is on the table. Everything is there for the 49ers, which who would have thought we could have said that when Bosa and Warner and Michael Williams go down? Pearsall misses all that time. Brock misses all that time. Kittle misses all that time. It's insanity that we are here. They are so well coached, and Kyle has no shot to win Coach of the Year, and it is absurd that he doesn't because it is a testament to them.
If they somehow eke the division out, which they'll fare well in all tiebreak situations with their NFC record and then their division record, especially if they can close that last game out with Seattle, if it means something. All of a sudden, Shanahan can turn the tide on this whole thing. But dude, the Coach of the Year award is about how much face time your coach gets. Shanahan is like the boogeyman. Like everybody talks about how good he is, you know? But during the game, you see this kind of sarcastic looking guy always sticking his face up and yelling and looking kind of angry with the permanent scowl. And then next to him, you have Robert Saleh, who's playing to the camera. Like, where was Shanahan's intentional grounding signal? Where was Shanahan running around with the safety stuff? Okay, like that stuff matters. Like Dayball, you know, being a total jerk, that got him Coach of the Year. Stefanski being good with the media, like that gets you Coach of the Year. Robert Saleh is going to win Assistant Coach of the Year, probably. And it just will be one of those things. Look at Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen should get Assistant Coach of the Year, but Dennis Allen has the Shanahan personality. And then you got Ben Johnson and Robert Saleh with all their good, better, best. Oh, gas, no brakes, blah, 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 blah. And they're fake, like, yeah, rah, rah. And that's what sells. That's what writers write about. That's what they're interested in portraying. And by the way, while we're talking about sports writing, I had this really weird thought that this is like the perfect forum to talk about. Just listening to the History Channel yesterday. What if like the way history was written, like think about it, right? Like 50 years from now, someone's going to look at Niners history and we know what happened, but someone's going to read, certain reporters' writing of how things happened with maybe their biased perspectives and think, that's exactly what happened at that time. What if history was written like that, Like I was reading about like whether like the Trojan War was real, What if Achilles wasn't really some great hero and somebody just tried to write him up because he had good EPA per play. And so they tried to make him the king of the Trojan War. And then next thing you know, like, okay.
What if Achilles had good EPA per play? Fish, I got news for
what
you.
happens when I come here right after a full day of work on my third. I'm on my Dan Campbell 3 espresso shots today, 3rd coffee. See what happens.
History was written like that, Fish.
I
The
know.
history is written by the victors.
Come on, you have to respect the setup, the preamble to come up with Achilles EPA per play. That's the punchline, but you can't have the punchline without a setup. Like you call the run in the first half so you can gut them with play action in the 3rd quarter. Remember what Madden said?
BTL with Tony says, how many lines of code did Vish write today?
Long day.
Benali says, that was awful. I you know what, Benali, I disagree. I love
Benali. Listen to it a couple more times. It'll grow on you.
No one Frisbee life. Helen of Troy got screwed over because
exactly.
What do you mean she got screwed over? She caused the whole thing. Keep it in your pants, Helen. Come on.
You don't put it on Paris?
I put it on both of them. Well, I mean, it wasn't really both of them. It was Agamemnon just wanted an excuse to go invade, and he used that as the excuse to go invade. Is really what it was. If we're gonna go into history here,
if it's real, it might just be because of their EPA.
Achilles couldn't win on the road either, apparently.
True. Good point. Like, imagine if we had those sorts of narratives going on back then.
Right. Oh God, that's a whole podcast. It sounds like
it is in a way, because really what I'm trying to make, the point I'm trying to make with this sort of joke is more so there's a lot of reactionary bias, I feel like, watching the Niners. And I think the last 2 weeks, especially not doing the show, is the best example of like how it's like a double gotcha both ways, right? Like he has a bad game and it's a gotcha. See, this one game proves everything I've been saying about him that I haven't been able to prove, and now I can prove it based on this one game. And then he bounces back and has a good game, and it's the exact same opposite reaction. It's like, see, Stafford threw 3 picks. Forget the fact that Stafford did this. Stafford threw 3 picks versus the Panthers. This proves blah, 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 blah. It goes both ways in such an extreme that it's almost like I don't think that we're even able to have takes on these people's careers anymore, because every game we're switching where they are, where they rank, all of this. And then by the time you realize they're good, like how many years did people do this with Dak Prescott? And it's now taken 9 years of starting where people are like, he started 9 straight years and kind of played like this the whole time. Maybe he is just kind of good. You know what I'm saying?
But then if he were to get to a playoff game and lose, they would be like, he's terrible.
Bounce back. Totally.
Yep. And no, you're right.
I think it's like kind of ruined how we're even like discussing or able to even look at these athletes from a larger perspective, because it's almost become like, instead of, hey, this is what happened in the game and this is kind of what happened, it's this game proves this. This is what I mean. Like Matt Gay making that field goal, like we won a couple arguments. Thank you, Matt Gay, because if you miss that field goal, like we're losing some in like the deep catacombs of Twitter, like 7 replies down on a thread. There was somebody that won a Brock Purdy argument because Matt Gay made that kick, and it is ridiculous.
It's all mock drafts. And what I mean by that is like how many mock drafts come out, and like people just churn out mock drafts. They just, we're going to have Cam Scatterboo is going to be the number 1 pick in this mock draft. And it doesn't matter what you say or when you said it. Like it's all McDonald's, as Jim Gaffigan used to say. Like you're right. We change every game is a referendum on everybody's career until you win a Super Bowl. And then all of a sudden you can't say anything about him because he has a Super Bowl. The whole thing it's a crazy system.
And there's also a visual to it, right? Like the way there's so many different statistics, so many different arguments, so many kind of dishonest takes about the game is turned into like Yeah, we've seen Matthew Stafford be a great quarterback for 12 years. But see, because everybody put my guy down after this game, I'm going to say now this game proves Stafford's like, it's like you have a dishonest take, so now I have an even more dishonest take. And then you have an even more dishonest take, so I'll have an even more dishonest take. And it's like ruin the entire like, oh, hey, this is actually what's going on. This is what these people are doing, this is the sport of football. And I think part of it is there's some people that we can see are very obviously very good at their job, like Myles Garrett. Like, does it take? I don't think it takes any knowledge of football to just be like, oh, 95 looks kind of different from everybody else, And it's one of those things where it's like now, like, no, everything has to be an argument. Like, no, this person's actually not as good, or this. It's one of those things that I personally found Twitter just very frustrating after the Panthers game personally, Rob, and then this one in its own way, but more so the Panthers game. So,
well, not only that, but now we're even like distilling it down to, well, I said this guy was a good quarterback and he hasn't played well overall, but look at this throw. It doesn't even matter if the throw is incomplete, but look at this throw. It's an amazing throw. See, I was still right. And it's just like, oh my God, it's just the constant analysis on everybody every week for what they are in their career is exhausting. But we're still going to be there, especially with Brock, because there will always be people that don't think Brock Purdy is not any good because he wasn't drafted highly, and they'll never be able to let it go. And every time he has a bad game, they'll just say, see, and all the other people on the other direction that think that Brock Purdy was completely underrated and should have been drafted much higher and is a really good quarterback, every time he has a good game are going to go, see, but no one ever actually wants to meet in the middle anywhere.
It's the national conversation, right? And part of this is good because the game is expanded to a point, but part of it is also with, Sunday Ticket is so popular now, right? Like everybody has some version of that. Red Zone has allowed every team to kind of watch every team, even though they've not actually watched these teams. Like I'll just stick on the Stafford example because it's an easy one. Like, shoot, for most of the year Stafford was playing in Detroit, he didn't really get talked about and nobody really watched Stafford. So I knew Stafford was good because unfortunately I live in one of the 4 places in the world that the Detroit Lions are actually the second option that shows on TV. Okay. If the Bears aren't playing at 12 o'clock, they show the Detroit Lions because that's their division rival in similar time zones. So I watched a lot of Stafford growing up. So it was like, oh, wait, this is actually a really good quarterback, but he was not part of national discourse or really talked about, being a Detroit Lions player at that time. Now, like every team has some level of attention, some level of national discourse, some level of, we're going to talk about this guy or we're going to talk about this guy, which means now, like, this used to be just a Dallas Cowboys thing, right? Like, we're going to do a referendum constantly on the Cowboys players. And on one hand, it's annoying because they're talked about in wins or losses. But on the other hand, it's kind of nice that, your players only really get talked about from a 360 view of viewing their whole season, not this daily dose of up and down. But now, every player, everybody has this up and down of their whole career. And I think it makes it hard, even like when we do a show like this and we try to talk about what the game is for what it is and try to push in the narratives throughout the season, some that we might be right about, some that we might be wrong about, some we might have thought that turned out to be totally wrong based on the games we're watching, all of these sorts of things. It becomes exceedingly frustrating because each game or each drive now needs a conclusive, and so now this proves that this guy is good. The 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. Their special teams is this guy is bad. This is just really what happened. It's just, this is what happened. This is the game. This was enjoyable. And it's like that. I don't know. I've always been frustrated with media coverage, and I will remain frustrated, I think, for the entirety of my life with how sports are covered.
It's just annoying that we can't, like for Brock Purdy, for example, what's the truth? The truth is probably, hey, he probably should have been drafted before the last pick in the draft. That's it. That's the truth. Should he have been the first pick in the draft? No. Should he have been, drafted before 262? Yep. That's it. That's the reality of the situation, but that's the obvious thing. So we can't say that. So we have to battle back and forth. Brisbee Life says the national media can't watch every game by the time they're talking on Monday morning, but they have to occupy so much time on all these shows. So you get a lot of garbage on the air. Mm-hmm. Brisbee, I can tell you this. I was the national media. I produced the biggest sports talk show in the history of the planet for years. Mike and Mike in the morning on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. I can tell you it's impossible to work on that show and watch everything at night. I tried to do it. I slept 3 hours a night. You still can't do it. Mike and Mike, I thought we were pretty good at, because they were more filling you in on what occurred, and they weren't really known for their.
Right, they were so early in the morning. They were just trying to hit the main storylines that people get right as they're going to work.
Yes, but I know for a fact that others that worked at ESPN while I was there were not watching every game, and we're just coming up with takes. So I can say that's 100% true. That's how you do end up with a lot of garbage on the air. Now, Greeny and Golick, like I said, they weren't known for their takes, so they didn't really fall into that category. But other guys at ESPN did.
Right, and perfect example is just doing this, right? I have another job too, and that takes up a lot of my time. But even without that, I find it hard to be up to date with the 49ers in a manner that makes me feel like, oh, I could then confidently say something about them because I know exactly what's going on, what this person talked about, all of these things on one time a week basis, right? And you follow them daily, and there's so many things that you have to keep track of on a daily basis just to be like on the pulse and keeping track, because there's so many details that involve a football team and being able to talk about it. These people managed to do that for 32 teams without that. And that's why the national discourse is the way it is about the sport. That's why you have certain narratives that have to sell or ways that you talk about it. But it kind of ruins the downstream of like, these are also people with careers whose legacy kind of gets built on how you talk about them. And at a time, it was a sports writer's privilege because they were actual writers. So it was their privilege to tell the story about these larger than life figures. The problem is now the larger than life figures have become the media. So their interest isn't to tell the story and show what these people did. It's how do I use their story to now sell myself and sell what I'm selling, which is a piece of content, right? Now you're no longer giving written work that somebody's going to read to understand what happened. You're selling a piece of content, a media consumption, something that someone can take. So now you're consuming something and putting your own spin on it. And that's where the coverage has become completely dishonest, because there's no coverage of the story. There's no pursuit of these larger than life people who are playing a child's game as a full-time job in a corporate situation. How do we cover this because they have so many fans and so many kids that look up to it and tell this story? No. Now the story is accessible. Everybody has a camera. Everybody kind of sees what they're doing on a daily basis or what's going on. So now it's just about how do I take what they're doing and I sell my own product with it. It's a very different kind of look at how the game is covered. And
I like this comment from Zach. If sports coverage gets any more polarizing, I'm going to have to talk about politics and religion to avoid fights. That's well done, Zach. Appreciate it.
Totally.
You were on the list earlier. You're off the list now. That was a good comment.
No, Zach, you were never on the list. You were totally right about that great point Levin makes about George Kittle.
Stop it. You joke around, but people are going to not attribute that to me, and it's going to bug me. So.
Well, sometimes other people have smart ideas. Like, Rob, did you know that Tim Kawakami was the guy who had been imploring the 49ers to receive the kickoff?
You're killing me, Bish. You just had to poke the bear. We're all happy. The Niners have won 3 in a row. We're going into the bye week.
I'm just going, hey. All I'm saying is host an interview, okay? Call a few reporters over. We can get off the show, and you host an interview, and you say, I now know why Vish got punched, okay? I now know why he got punched. And I'm surprised someone didn't punch him in the face and then you can air all your grievances with me that way, okay?
So Vish is talking about Shelby Harris, who had this to say about Juwan Jennings after the game.
He's a hoe, and I want that known. Like, I see why he got punched in the nuts, because he says some things that you should not say to another man ever. But like, I don't respect it because you say that, then run behind your O-line. That's some real soft shit. And I want that known. I see exactly why they punched the nuts. I'm surprised nobody punched him in the jaw yet.
So first of all, damn, Shelby Harris, outstanding. I want that known goes so hard. That quote, that is savagery right there. I don't know what Juwan Jennings said. Myles Garrett talked about it after the game too, saying it was demeaning and disrespectful. I have no idea what was said, but I do know this. NFL players deal with trash talk trash talk every single play from a ton of players on the field. For them to get this upset about something Jauan Jennings said, it had to be above and beyond the normal stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, for Shelby Harris, like, one, on jokes is like in more of a joking sense, like he like got in his head. Like Shelby Harris was mad after the game. Like he delivered that line with like he was like he hadn't walked that off or worn that off, which is usually, I wouldn't say like it's atypical in the sense that it never happens, but NFL players know better to carry the emotions of the game outside of the game. They're usually very good at those 60 minutes, leaving it there and then being able to move on to the next, because so much of their job is, I can't sit here and waste time thinking about and the past. But he was really mad about this. But on a more serious note, I don't think Shelby Harris is the kind of guy that if you just talk trash to him, he's going to come cry about it after the game and he's going to complain about it or whatever. I think Jauan Jennings really does talk mad junk. Even the way Garrett talked about it, Garrett was asked directly about it. He didn't really want to say anything about it because there's no good way you come across if you're crying about what somebody said to you in a football game when you can hit the guy and you have the opportunity to do something about it and you don't do it and they bust your butt for 60 minutes. But it's one of those things where he's like, okay, if you really want me to say, like, yeah, that guy says some gross things, and like, it doesn't make a difference, but he says some gross things. I guess he's really talking junk like that, man.
You know, we always talk about like LeBron or Myles Garrett, right? Like in a league of freak athletes, these guys stand above. Well, in a league filled with incredible trash talkers, I haven't seen anybody get a response quite like that. But it was an all-timer, and yes, I will forever have.
He's a hoe, and I want that known.
That's going to be ready to go on my little soundboard here.
And I think, one, it feels like, and I don't know how to say this, but I feel like if he was saying something that past the line, I don't think the 49ers are the kind of team where they're like, yeah, you know, we're just a dirty team. We're going to stand by Jauan Jennings for whatever he says. Like, I don't think Trent Williams is the kind of guy that's like, you know, no matter what, you can come run behind me. I think maybe Jauan Jennings is just a really freaking good trash talker. And maybe we've moved past a league where people talk really nasty to each other. Maybe trash talk now these days is, hey man, you suck. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna bust you on that play. It's not like really, yeah, you know, Kevin Garnett, you know, remember the way he used to talk, all of those sorts of things where it's like really personal, like studying up and just saying things to you. At least we don't seem to hear as many stories about trash talk that way coming out from the modern game. And so maybe Jauan Jennings has got that old school, like, hey, Shelby Harris, I'm going to say things where it's like, I'm going to really get to you. I'm going to really mess with your emotions, how you're playing, all of those sorts of things. And he clearly is pulling it off. Now, I also want to add that me being a Niners fan has a lot to do with how positive I am. Like, if you switch the roles and Jauan Jennings said that about Shelby Harris, you best believe I'm coming on here and talking about Shelby Harris. That guy needs to shut his mouth. What's he doing? All of these sorts of things. So I do have a lot of bias coming into my opinion, but that's my take.
It's a situation where normally what I like to say is when fans talk trash from the stands, they can be kicked out. I don't think you could say anything. You do have to maintain some level of, you know, decorum and humanity. You can be kicked out, but there's never an excuse for a player to go into the stands ever. But when it's another player trash talking you, like if you say something, you could get punched in the face. Like that's, you know, that's the risk you take when you are
helmet on. Just talk with your helmet on. It's that simple.
It's the whole thing is wild, man. But yeah, that was a headline coming out of the game as well. But the real headline is Niners 3 straight wins, 9-4 on the year. Going into the bye week, chance to get to double-digit victories when this year was very rapidly trending towards a year of hell. And we are not guaranteed, not locked in by any stretch of the imagination, Vish. But I will say this. My birthday is January 11th, and right now there is a very good chance that I am watching the 49ers play in the playoffs when I turn 41 years old.
Oh, yikes. Maybe could have left the last part out. Damn. 41? No, I'm kidding. Okay, that was too much. I see that look on your face. I've been poking the bear a lot. Sorry. You can